Be my woman, girl, I'll be your man. Be my woman, girl, I'll be your man.
You know what's really interesting about what's happening in America right now is that a lot of people don't seem to realize how dominoes connect, how one piece knocks another piece that knocks another piece, and in the end creates a giant wave.
As you come along this journey, I ask you to keep these questions in mind. Who was George Floyd? Who was Emmett Till? What was the Tulsa massacre? What is Juneteenth? To answer these questions, we have to know how it all started.
Human beings who were kidnapped from Africa, crowded into the hulls of sailing ships, and brought over to America, Brazil, and the Caribbean for that purpose. The route to America along the Atlantic Ocean was called the Middle Passage, and over the next 250 years, 12 million human beings, torn from their families, were chained in the bottom of the ships and beaten into submission to complete the voyage, only to arrive in the New World branded as slaves. Roughly 2 million of them did not survive this journey. Steven Spielberg's 1997 movie Amistad depicts these horrific events.
Minstrel music shows were traveling spectacles performed by white actors who greased their faces with black cork known as blackface. When members of the African American communities caught wind of this, they began staging their own shows, a creative outlet for their pain and frustration. But with a unique twist. Yes, there was plenty of music and dancing, but in the finale, the joke turned against the masters. The last laugh, the cakewalk, delivered a powerful moment of revenge as the slaves imitated their white masters' overconfident walking style with their fancy waistcoats, their swaggering hips, and fragile fingers in the air. And no doubt about it, showcasing their white masters as both unmanly and weak.
In 1863, President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. Now, can you imagine a time without internet or cell phones? The word trickled down slowly, deliberately. For the last remaining enslaved blacks in Galveston, Texas, the good news broke 2.5 years later. On June 19, 1865, word finally arrived. They had all been set free. What was coined as Juneteenth became the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of slavery's end, known mostly today only among African Americans.
In an effort to control the town, police falsely accused a black shoe shiner of assaulting a white woman, which spurred a devastating bloodbath. Mobs of white men attacked the town on the ground and from private aircraft, destroying 35-plus square blocks of the district. More than 10,000 African Americans were left homeless, over 6,000 wounded, and roughly 200 killed. Property damage totaled in the millions in today's money. Many simply left Tulsa, but many of those who stayed never spoke of the incident again. The Tulsa massacre was simply left out of history books and news articles. Damon Lindelof recently revitalized this chapter in history through his 2019 TV series, Watchmen.
Deep in the delta of Clarksdale, Mississippi, there was one place, Dockery Farms, that was home to many influential blues musicians like Elmore James, Muddy Waters, and B.B. King. Known as the grandfather of the blues, Charlie Patton was a wild man who would bang out a song with his guitar behind his back or lift it up to his mouth and pick out a tune with his teeth. His music lived on to influence Bob Dylan, Led Zeppelin, and the White Stripes.
The Beatles, one of the most famous bands in the world, gained popularity from their driving blues sound. Listen for it in their hit, A Hard Day's Night.
It's been a hard day's night, and I've been working like a dog.
Nina Simone became the voice of empowerment for millions of young African American students.
To find that I could fly, I'd soar to the sun and look down.
Sidney Lumet's 1970 documentary, King, a filmed record, Montgomery to Memphis, tells of the riots and protests that spread throughout the country as the music of empowerment unified the people and the cause. Then, throughout the 70s and into the 80s, there were new R&B and pop artists branching into their own. In 1974, Chaka Khan released her hit, Tell Me Something Good. Exploding out of the South Bronx in the 70s and coming into commercial success and popularity in the 80s, a new genre changed music forever. Instead of singing, people would talk or rap over the music in a rhythmic vocal rhyming style. It was called hip-hop, a gutsy, fresh combination of R&B and funk. The African American journey in the United States over the past several hundred years is documented by and reflected in the evolution of African American music. From field hollers and camp meetings, to old spirituals, to the blues, to the popular genres of today. Music is the means by which African Americans have told their story. It is impossible to separate the music from the story, or the story from the music. Understanding musical history is necessary to appreciate how far we have come as a country and how far we still have yet to go.
Toward your destination, though you may find from time to time complications.